Hey brothers and sisters, Math Hatton here. So we have a really cool video today about 4-star heroes and why they're so great. But first I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that has subscribed and left comments. It's really motivating, so thank you on that. But we have a lot of information, so let's just get into it. So for the 4-star heroes, the angle that I'm going to take for this video is really focusing on what's good for a free to cheap to play player, and then obviously still focusing on the mid-game meta. So for the ground rules of the video, we're only going to look at 4-star heroes that are available in the Epic Hero Summon, or the Costume Chamber, or the Elemental Summon. So if I had to rank these sources, I would say number one, the best source is the Epic Hero Summon tokens that you can use in the Epic Hero Summon. Those are available from pretty much every activity in the game. And then number two would be your costume event portal. So if you're a cheap to play player and you're looking for one portal to focus on, absolutely the costume event portal is the one that I would suggest. There's just a lot of great heroes that you can get, and then their costumes just even increase that value that much more. And then the third option would be the Elemental Summon portal. The only reason I include this is it provides the same heroes as the Epic Hero portal, but with the small difference that it is one element at a time. So as you start to collect some 4-star heroes and your collection or your teams are starting to grow, if you have any openings at like a specific element, like nature for example, you can wait for the nature elemental summon portal to come up, and then you can go in with a pretty high chance to get that 4-star hero in the nature category that you're really looking for. So the one thing that I'll mention as far as the costume events is with the costumes, there's two significant advantages. One is a costume can take an average 4-star hero to a superstar hero level. And then the second great thing is the costume bonus. When you fully ascend the base version and the costume version of a hero, you're getting a permanent stat bonus to that character on both sides, the regular and the costume. You're getting attack bonus of plus 5%, defense bonus of plus 5%, health bonus of 10%, and mana bonus of 5%. So those are all great permanent stats that you can add to your 4-star heroes. So we'll go through each element one at a time, just to talk about what's out there and what's available. For Boral, he's a great tank in the Ice Hero class. You have Grim, who's a really good tank in a flank. Kirill, another good tank. He's a healing tank. And then you have Sonya, who's a really great wing. For the costumes that are available, the Boral costume is actually a slight downgrade. It decreases the amount of counterattack he does. It takes the counterattack from himself and his two surrounding heroes to applying it to your whole team. But with that significant decrease in the amount of counterattack, it's just not worth it. So this is a significant downgrade on the costumes, but still worth to level up because you get that stat bonus across the board. For Kirill, his costume is an average. It's not a good or bad increase. What he's essentially doing is taking his attack and defense buffs that he would normally be putting on your team. He's just turning those to negative and applying those to the enemy team. And then Sonya, again, the costume is neither good or bad. She's, instead of taking all the status or buffs off the enemy team, she's just reducing or eliminating all the status elements from your own team. So for the nature heroes, this is probably the heaviest group as far as what options are available in the summon portals in the costume chamber. You have Caedmon, who's an excellent wing. He's essentially the same hero as Sonya. It's just he's nature. Kashrek is a really good healing tank. He provides a really good heal to himself and his surrounding heroes. And then he puts a really nice fire shield on. So if you have any other teams that are running fire to come at your nature tank, he really provides a nice defensive buff against himself and any other nature heroes you might have on your team. Melindor, the base version, he's a decent flank or a wing. His costume really changes things, but we'll talk about that in a second. Skittle Skull is an average character at best, not that great. Little John, he's a slow hero, but he's a really good flank or a wing because he provides a pretty decent attack. And then his base version provides a really nice decrease in mana generation on the entire enemy team of negative 64%. So for the costumes, Caedmon costume, it's similar to Sonya's. It's neither good nor bad. Exact same changes that happened with Sonya's costume. Kashrek's costume technically is an upgrade. What I would say is whether you have the base version of Kashrek or the costume version, they're both really good. The main difference of Kashrek's costume is he provides a extra healing or health, and then provides a extra layer of health points onto himself and the surrounding heroes around him. Melindor's costume is a really big upgrade. It essentially turns an average forgettable hero into a really good hero, a sleeper hero, you might say. So Melindor's costume actually gives him a health regeneration that applies to your entire team of 609 HP over 3 turns. He provides a significant defense boost of plus 46% to your entire team over 3 turns, and then he dispels buffs from all enemies. So if you're running a Melindor costume, then you can start to look at maybe a Caedmon or a Sonya costume to run, because you're not as worried about taking like counterattack or some of the buffs that are on the enemy team off, because Melindor can cover all that for you. And he's running at average speed, so that's a pretty good selection of abilities with an average speed hero. Skittle Skull's costume doesn't really change much. He can still attack all enemies, but he's doing slightly less damage. And then he's taking the enemy team's attack down by 39% for 6 turns. So that, I guess, is decent, but don't really see a lot of use of Skittle Skull on a lot of teams, and because he's just kind of middle-of-the-road hero. Little John's costume actually is a downgrade. He's still dealing 150% damage to all enemies, which is slightly less than his base version. But what I don't like about his costume is you're losing that mana regen down that you're applying to the enemy team, and it's replacing it with a dodge ability on your team, which is essentially like putting a accuracy down on the entire team. I can see the use there, but it's just, in terms of his base version versus costume version, it's a downgrade. So with the nature heroes, the one unique thing about this group is they actually create the only viable mono team option out of the 4-star Season 1 heroes. The way that I would set it up is you can put Caedmon costume as the wing 1. You put Little John and Skittle Skull as the flanks. They're running it slow, but you're going to have some protection there because Kashrek is providing healing on both Little John and Skittle Skull. And then he's also putting a fire shield on Little John or Skittle Skull. So if you have a team that sees that you're running full mono, I wouldn't suggest doing this as defense, but if you have the team in there, basically if you're going up against a team that has fire heroes on their side, you're essentially negating all that extra damage that the fire heroes might do against your nature team. And then you've got Melindor as the wing 2, which is also helping Kashrek heal everybody. And then he's also giving your entire team even more defense. And then he's dispelling buffs from all the enemies. So this is a really solid mono team. Probably the best out of the Season 1 options for sure. And it really holds its own, I think, around a lot of different 4-star mono teams if you're able to choose from all the different heroes that are available from the different summons. So this is a great team, and if you have these heroes, I would encourage you to give it a shot and let me know what you think. For the Holy Heroes, we have some decent heroes here. Chao is a really good wing, a really good sniper type attack. You've got Hu Tao, which is a good tank or flank. He's essentially doing damage across everybody, but then he's taking accuracy down across the entire team. So not your best tank, but maybe would serve a good purpose in a flank role. Li Zu is a good tank because she's doing, again, damage to everybody, and then she's taking mana down by 20%. Now, personally, I run Li Zu in a wing position. That's just how I prefer, based on the other heroes I run her with. But she's pretty good as far as just taking that mana down in one big pop from the whole team. 20% can be significant in a lot of situations. And then Wukong is your famous hero. A lot of people use him in the Titan battles. He's providing a nice attack up of 185%. The one downside of Wukong is that he has a 1 out of 3 chance to miss that he's applying to your team as well. So it's kind of like a high risk, high reward type situation. For the costumes, there's only one holy costume, which is Li Zu's. It's a downgrade because it's increasing her damage slightly to all enemies, but it's taking that mana down to 10%, which is essentially nullifying any benefits that it had. So this is a great example of a hero where you would still level up her base costume, or her costume, so that you could apply that permanent stat bonus to her base version. So for the fire heroes, there's some interesting heroes here as well. Boltusk is one of my favorite tanks or flanks in the game as far as the fire heroes, because he is providing healing for your entire team, and then he's giving everybody a nice attack up of 48%. Cullen is a nice tank or nice tank or wing. It runs it slow, but he does some pretty good damage to the entire team, and then he puts an additional burn damage of 330 damage over 6 turns on the enemy team. Gormak is another interesting tank or flank. He's doing 295% damage to a single target and doing some splash damage to the surrounding targets, but he's taking 35% or 34% defense down to those targets that he's going after. And then Khalil, this is one of your 2 strong wings or snipers. She's doing 320% damage in 1 pop, and then she's putting a nice burn damage on that target of 360 damage over 6 turns. And then Scarlet, this is a rogue, another rogue that's interesting. She's a wing or a flank. She deals 215% damage to the target and minor damage to the nearby enemies. And then she's also putting a negative 34% attack on those enemies or the 2 enemies surrounding them that she's attacking. As far as the fire costumes, there's only one at this point, which is the Boltusk costume. The chef costume is neither an upgrade or a downgrade. Essentially, it's just increasing the health that Boltusk is doing on all allies, but it's reducing the attack bonus. So it's really situational in terms of if you want to use the base or the chef version. I kind of mix them out based on what team I'm going up against or what the specific need is. But generally, you're probably safe to stick with the Boltusk costume, level up the chef costume, and just get the base stat bonuses across the board. For the Dark Heroes, this is where you have pretty much your all-star case study as far as why costumes can be so great. Sabina is your flank. She's a healer that provides or dispels buffs against the entire enemy team, so she's not bad. Cyprian doesn't do any attack, but he puts a very sizable counterattack on himself and surrounding allies, which is in the same ballpark as a Boral, which makes Boral so valuable. Rygard, his base version is just kind of an average healer, providing 42% health recovery for everybody, and then dispelling status ailments from everybody. And then Tiburtus costume, he's a nice tank or flank. I run him at flank most of the time. He's a nice multi-target damage where he'll do significant damage to one target and just do that splash damage. But he takes applies 34% down defense. So I like him to pair him up with maybe a Caedmon or Sonya that can come in right after him after he's taken down the defense and just maybe one shot or 2 shot some of the heroes on the other team. For the costumes, Rygard's costume is a serious upgrade. It basically turns Rygard from a 4-star hero into a superhero, where a lot of teams are able to even run him on 5-star teams. He's doing health regeneration of 609 HP over 3 turns for everybody. He's providing 48% attack up for 3 turns, and then he's dispelling status ailments from all allies. So the benefit of Rygard's costume is really he's providing so much for your team that it really opens up what kind of other heroes you can run with him and not be leaving anything off the table. So Rygard gets the number 1 slot as far as the best costume. Tiburtus' costume, in my opinion, is a downgrade. Instead of doing damage to a single target and splash damage to the surrounding enemies, he's doing 145% damage across the board. But his defense down is taking a little bit too much of a hit. It's going down to 22% defense for 4 turns. Now, it does apply to all enemies, so I can see in some cases if you have a lot of heroes that are attacking all, you might want to take the defense down of all. But most of the time, you're going to find more value in using Tiburtus' base costume in combination with 1 or 2 snipers to really eliminate one of the biggest threats on the enemy team. So I took a shot at putting some different teams together for the defense team. This is probably not a team that you're going to see recommended anywhere. I like it for the one reason that it covers a lot of needs that you're going to need on your own team, but it provides a lot of frustration for an enemy team that might be attacking you through a raid while you have your defense team up. So I have Caedmon as Wing 1. So he's your single target. I'm using his base costume because I'm going to use him to dispel buffs from the entire enemy team if they put counterattack or reflect up, or if they have any buffs that I want to take down quickly to keep them from healing themselves or from coming back, against my team. Caedmon is really good, and it's good on the defense because it applies that dispel all to everybody, so you don't really have to worry about what the AI is doing with your team. Boral and Cyprian are going to be sitting at the flanks. So Boral is providing a counterattack to both Caedmon and Bolttusk, and then Cyprian is providing a counterattack to both Bolttusk and Lizu. So essentially, between these two heroes, you've covered your entire team in a big shell that's counterattacking all the enemy damage. Bolttusk sitting in the middle, adding attack up, and then he's providing healing for your entire team. And then you've got Lizu in Wing 2, which is doing 150 damage to all enemies, and then reducing the mana of all enemies by 20%. So where this team might be a little light on attack, you're essentially using this build to take all or a lot of the enemy damage that's coming at you and firing it back to them. So you don't need as much heal, and you don't need as much attack because their attack is essentially buffing your attack. So it's a really interesting defense team. I would say if anybody has tried this team out or wants to try it out and provide feedback, that would really be pretty cool to hear. For the 4-star attack team that I put together, I would recommend putting Caedmon base version at the wing, putting Tiburtus and Rygard as the flanks, and then putting Boral as the tank to provide reflect on Tiburtus and keep Rygard protected, and then putting Chow as a single target sniper on the Wing 2 so that he can come in and help finish off a target after Tiburtus takes the defense down with Caedmon. And then he's also providing a very significant single target mana reduction of 25%. So you can really use him to single in on an enemy that on the other side that you think is a big threat. The other bonus here is that you have Tiburtus and Rygard doubling the damage that you're getting off of your dark tiles that you send up. So if you wanted to switch it up, I would say maybe you don't want Dark Heroes in. You could put Bolttusk in for Tiburtus, and you could put Scarlet in for Rygard. So this team is essentially maintaining your healing. Bolttusk is not as good of a healer as Rygard, but he still is healing all. And then you're buffing the attack of Caedmon, Scarlet, and Chow up, and they're all doing significant damage to single targets, with Scarlet doing a little splash damage on the side. But the nice attack up kind of offsets the lack of having Tiburtus in for defense down. So this is and this provides you with extra damage on your fire tiles that you're sending up. So I did a test with the first attack team that I covered with you guys just to see how it worked, in a live fire exercise. And I didn't use any items on Mount Umber yesterday, and I was able to get through the whole event and clear all stages with this team. I don't even have Rygard costume leveled up all the way. As you can see, he's only ascended twice and he's at level 37. And then Chow's only ascended twice at level 35. So I do have some decent mana troops for a mid-game level going with some mana regen increase. But again, I tried to make sure not to use any items, which I didn't, and I was able to clear all stages in this event. So as far as my test results and how I looked at it, I said this is a pretty good 4-star team that's easily attainable. They can get you through a lot of great events and get you some nice mats. This event netted me a new set of the Mystic Rings, so that was really nice to get a hold of. So thanks for tuning in this video. I am going to be making some content very soon that's going to talk about emblems and how you can emblem a lot of these heroes. And then I'm also going to talk about the troops and kind of how you can approach or what a good strategy is for mid-game meta on the troops. But thanks for tuning in, and I really appreciate it. I will see you guys soon in the next video.